In Lagos, survival is a game of secrets. They look like successful Lagos big girls. Designer bags, luxury cars, iPhone 17, glamorous lives. But behind the glitter was a dark truth. And when their curvy single mother friend begged to join them and show her the way, what she discovered left her in tears and changed her life forever. Welcome to Folktales by Chisom, where the hidden struggles of life are told through powerful African stories. Stay with me till the end, because today's tale carries a lesson you'll never forget. The night in Yaba was hot and restless. The air smelled faintly of roasted corn and exhaust fumes from danfos that rattled down the main road, their horns blaring like angry voices. Inside a cramped two-room flat tucked behind a noisy street, Stella sat at her plastic table, staring at a pile of unpaid bills. Her 10-year-old son, Bode, slept fitfully on the thin mattress, his school uniform folded carefully by his side. Stella's heart tightened as she looked at him. Tomorrow was the school's deadline for unpaid fees. If she didn't find the money, Bode would be sent home again. And this time, she had no excuse left to give. Stella was beautiful. Her curvy figure, soft brown skin, and full bust had once turned heads on her university campus. But beauty did not pay rent in Lagos. Now in her late 30s, she was a single mother juggling a small catering business that was crumbling under the weight of Lagos inflation. Food prices had doubled, rent had risen, and worst of all, her last big catering gig had ended in disaster. The company's check bounced. She had called the client, begged, even shouted, but the money never came, and now she had nothing left to give her landlord or her son's school. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She whispered to herself, "God, how much longer will I suffer? How much longer?" In her desperation, her mind drifted to two names she had avoided for months, Tola and Chioma. They had been her closest friends in university. Back then, they were inseparable. Three stylish girls with big dreams. But after graduation, their paths had taken different turns. Tola was now the picture of success, always dressed sharply, posting selfies from corporate boardrooms with captions like "securing the bag." She drove a Lexus and spoke with the confidence of someone in control. Chioma, on the other hand, owned a chic boutique on the island. Her Instagram glittered with designer clothes, perfumes, and shopping trips to Dubai. She seemed to live the soft life Stella longed for. Stella stared at her old Nokia phone on the table, the glow from its cracked screen faint in the darkness. Should she call them? Pride had kept her silent all these years, but pride would not pay Bode's school fees. Finally, she picked up the phone and dialed. "Tola!" Her voice cracked when the line connected. "Stella! Babe, long time. What happened to you? You just disappear from this world." Tola's voice was warm, teasing. Stella bit her lip. "Don't cry. Don't cry. Tola, please. I need help. I'm drowning. My business is failing. Rent is choking me. And Bode's school fees." Her voice broke. "Please, show me the way. You two are thriving, and I'm sinking." There was silence on the other end, followed by a soft laugh. Not mocking, but knowing. "Stella, relax. You called the right people. We'll show you the way." Something cold and electric ran through Stella's body. Relief or fear? She couldn't tell. When she ended the call, she sat in silence, listening to the far-off sound of a generator humming in the next compound. She had finally asked for help, but deep inside a voice whispered, "Be careful what you wish for." Stella wiped her tears, looked at her sleeping son and whispered, "Bode, Mummy will fix everything." "I promise," but in Lagos, promises came at a price. And Stella was about to find out that not every price was worth paying. The next evening, Stella stood outside a sleek glass building in Victoria Island, her cheap Ankara dress sticking to her back with nervous sweat. She felt out of place. The restaurant entrance glittered with warm lights, and valet boys in crisp uniforms rushed forward to take keys from women who stepped out of Range Rovers and G-Wagons. She adjusted the strap of her faded handbag and swallowed. This wasn't her world. A black Lexus pulled up, and out stepped Tola. She looked like she belonged on the cover of a lifestyle magazine. Fitted red suit, pointed heels clicking against the marble pavement, hair in a neat bob, and the newest iPhone in her hand. "Stella!" she squealed, hugging her as though no time had passed. My God, look at you. Still fine like university days, only, motherhood has even blessed your body more. Stella laughed shyly, covering her embarrassment. You too, Tola. You look expensive. That's the word, Tola said with a wink. Moments later, Chioma arrived. She floated in wearing a shimmering silk gown that hugged her curves, with designer sunglasses balanced on her hair, even though the sun had long set. Her perfume hit before she spoke. Stella, my love, she cooed, air-kissing both cheeks. We've missed you. Inside the restaurant, everything sparkled. Chandeliers glittering like diamonds, waiters in black vests gliding across the floor, the soft clinking of wine glasses, and the low hum of jazz music. Stella kept her head down as they were led to a reserved table. When the menus arrived, she froze at the prices. 25,000 naira for pasta? She forced a smile, hoping nobody noticed her shock. Tola ordered effortlessly, "Give me grilled salmon, medium well," and a bottle of white Chioma, followed with a French dish Stella had never heard of. When the waiter turned to her, Stella's throat went dry. Jollof rice," she muttered. Tola and Chioma exchanged a look, then laughed lightly as if covering it. After a few minutes of casual talk, Tola leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Stella, you said you want us to show you the way. Are you sure you're ready?" "Yes," Stella whispered, almost desperate. Chioma's nails tapped the wine glass, her glossy lips curving into a smile. "You see, Lagos no be for the weak. The rent, the bills, the school fees. Nobody survives on honest hustle alone. At least not quickly," Stella frowned. "So, how do you survive?" Tola smirked, tossing her braids back. "Simple. Network connections. We belong to a circle. We don't struggle because we know the right people. High net worth people," Chioma added smoothly. "Men who have power, money, influence. Men who can change your life if you give them what they want." Stella's heart raced. She stared at them in disbelief. "You mean sugar daddies?" Chioma chuckled. "Call it whatever you like, darling. In Lagos, it's survival." Tola leaned closer, her eyes glittering. "All those girls you see flaunting luxury bags on Instagram, driving Benz, flying to Dubai. Do you think it's salary money? Stella, open your eyes. The way is simple. You meet the right man, he handles your needs. In return, you make him happy." Stella's fork clattered against her plate. Her stomach turned, though she forced herself to sit still. But you both, I thought you—" Tola cut her off smoothly. "I'm not saying this is the only way, but it's the fastest way, and we're offering you an introduction." Chioma leaned in, whispering like she was offering a sacred gift. "There's a man, highly placed, connected, rich beyond imagination. He's looking for someone fresh. If you play your cards well, your rent, Bode's school fees, your business, everything will be taken care of." Stella stared at them, her chest tightening. She thought she had come to learn about investments, maybe a business idea, a loan scheme. Instead, her friends were presenting her with a path that felt like quicksand. Still, the image of Bode crying over unpaid school fees flashed in her mind. Her hands trembled under the table. "Think about it," Tola said softly, touching her hand. "You said you're drowning." "This is the lifeboat," Stella forced a weak smile. She didn't trust her voice because if she spoke, she knew she might cry right there in the glittering restaurant. As they left the restaurant that night, the Lagos skyline sparkled above the island. Expensive cars glided past, girls with perfect wigs and flawless makeup laughing into their phones. For the first time in her life, Stella wondered if maybe she had been the fool all along, struggling in Yaba while the world moved on without her. But deep down, another voice whispered, "At what cost?" The black SUV pulled up in front of a five-star hotel in Victoria Island, its tinted windows reflecting the streetlights. Stella stood nervously at the entrance, clutching her handbag like a lifeline. Her palms were sweaty, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Tonight she was going to meet him. Tola had arranged everything. "Just relax," she had told her earlier. "He's generous, charming. He likes women who carry themselves with dignity, smile, laugh at his jokes, and leave the rest to us. Chioma had added with a knowing smirk, "Remember, Stella, in Lagos, presentation is everything. Tonight is not about struggle, it's about image. Act like you belong here." The doorman ushered her inside, and the sudden rush of cool air conditioning made her shiver. The lobby glittered with polished marble floors, golden chandeliers, and the faint scent of expensive cologne mixed with freshly brewed coffee. Stella had never stepped into a place so grand. At a reserved corner table in the hotel's private lounge sat a man in his mid-50s. His agbada was starched and white, embroidered with subtle gold designs. A massive wristwatch clung to his wrist, its diamonds catching the light. His phone lay on the table, two others beside it. His bald head shone under the dim lights.
This was Chief Oladipo, a wealthy government contractor whose name Stella had only ever heard on radio news. Tola and Chioma were already seated with him, laughing softly at something he said. When Stella approached, they both rose with smiles. "Chief, this is Stella," Tola said warmly, "the one I told you about." Chief's eyes swept over her slowly, lingering on her curves, her nervous hands, the fullness of her chest under the Ankara blouse. He smiled, showing even, yellow-tinted teeth. "So this is Stella," he said, his deep voice rolling like distant thunder. "Beautiful, very beautiful. You look like a woman who deserves better than stress." Stella forced a polite smile, her throat tight. "Good evening, sir." "Ah, no sir here," he chuckled. "Call me Chief." They sat down, and almost immediately a waiter appeared with a tray of champagne and grilled seafood. Chief gestured generously. "Eat, drink, tonight is for enjoyment." Stella picked at her food, her stomach in knots. Chief dominated the conversation, boasting about contracts he had won, properties he owned in Lekki, and boys who ran errands for him in Abuja. Tola and Chioma laughed at every comment he made, their voices dripping with admiration. But Stella sat mostly in silence, her mind far away. She thought of Bode's worn school shoes, her unpaid rent, her catering pots stacked uselessly in her kitchen. Then Chief turned to her. "So, Stella, tell me, what do you want? Don't be shy. Every woman I meet knows what she wants. Is it car? Is it house? Is it business capital? Say it, and it is done." His words hung in the air like bait. Stella's lips trembled. She wanted to scream, "I want peace. I want dignity. I want my son to be proud of me." But what came out was silence. Chief leaned closer, his voice dropping to a low rumble. "I can make life easy for you. No more struggling in Yaba. But of course, you must also make me happy. That is how it works. Nothing goes for nothing." Stella's breath caught. Heat rose in her chest, a wave of shame and temptation crashing over her at once. She glanced at Tola and Chioma. Their encouraging smiles told her to accept, to surrender. That night, Chief offered to drive her home. She refused politely, choosing instead to take a bolt back to Yaba. As the car sped through Third Mainland Bridge, the Lagos skyline stretched in lights, mocking her with its endless wealth. She leaned her head against the window, tears stinging her eyes. She thought of Chief's promise, a new life at her fingertips, and the price she would have to pay. For the next week, Stella met Chief twice more. He showered her with attention, hinting at cars and rent money if she would commit fully. But each time she sat with him, a knot twisted tighter in her stomach. His laughter, his boastful stories, the way his eyes undressed her, it all felt wrong. One evening, as they dined in a private suite, Stella excused herself to use the restroom. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she walked down the corridor. She could hear laughter, Tola and Chioma's voices echoing faintly inside the ladies' room. She froze when their conversation slipped through the door. "Once she agrees, Chief will trust her," Tola's voice hissed. Chioma laughed softly. Yes, and that's when we move in. With Stella close to him, nobody will suspect us. We'll have access to everything we need. Her blood ran cold. Her hands gripped the sink for balance. She had thought she was being saved, but in reality, she was being used. Her friends weren't helping her. They were setting her up.
The hum of the hotel's central air conditioning buzzed faintly as Stella stood frozen outside the restroom door. Her breath caught in her throat, her palms slick with sweat. The voices inside, familiar voices she once trusted, now dripped with betrayal. Once she agrees, Chief will trust her, Tola whispered sharply. Chioma's low laugh followed, bitter like poison. Yes, now, he'll spoil her with money, cars, rent, and when he's comfortable, we'll use her to get closer to him. Imagine the kind of contracts we can secure. He won't suspect us if she's the one carrying his secrets. Stella's knees almost buckled. She gripped the wall, willing herself not to make a sound. But what if she backs out? Tola pressed. Chioma scoffed. Back out, please. You saw the way she was looking at him. Desperation is written on her face. Single mother, rent choking her, son's school fees. She'll give in eventually. All we need to do is keep pressing. By the time she's in too deep, she won't have a choice. Their laughter rang out again, echoing off the tiled walls. Stella's stomach churned. Her head spun as if the chandelier lights had turned into daggers. These were her friends, women she had envied, admired, and begged for help. And now she knew the truth. Tola wasn't the glamorous tech executive she flaunted online. She was only a personal assistant, stealing from her boss's petty cash and cooking up fake reports to fund her lifestyle. Chioma's boutique wasn't the booming business everyone believed. The designer clothes were Abba-made fakes. The real money came from an online lottery scam she managed through the boutique's computers. And together, they had planned to use her, to push her into Chief's arms, then exploit her position as his mistress to cover their shady deals.
Her heart thumped violently. A wave of nausea rose in her throat. She stumbled into an empty stall, locking the door, her hands shaking as she pressed her palm to her face. Oh God, what have I gotten myself into? Hot tears slid down her cheeks, her sobs muffled by the steady hum of the restroom fan. She thought of Bode, innocent, sleeping peacefully back home, trusting his mother to protect him. What kind of example would she set if she went down this road? Her phone buzzed in her bag. A message from Chioma lit up the cracked screen. Babe, don't keep Chief waiting too long. He's asking for you. Stella stared at the glowing words until they blurred through her tears. Her body trembled as if Lagos itself was laughing at her. The endless pressure, the fake smiles, the glittering lies. She unlocked the stall and moved slowly to the sink. Her reflection stared back at her, eyes red, makeup smudged, lips trembling. She hardly recognized herself. The restroom door swung open, and Chioma walked in, still smiling, until she noticed Stella's face. Babe, you been crying? Before Stella could answer, Tola slipped in behind her, her eyes sharp with curiosity. Stella, are you okay? For a long moment, Stella stared at them, her chest heaving. Two women she once called sisters. Two women who had just plotted to destroy her. She forced a shaky smile, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. I'm fine. Just thinking of Bode. School fee stress. Tola's lips curled into a practiced look of sympathy. Don't worry. Chief will handle all that. You just need to let go of your stubbornness. Chioma touched her arm. Trust us, Stella. This is how we survive in Lagos. Nobody will clap for your honest hustle. Their words dripped with honey, but tasted like poison. Stella nodded weakly, pretending to agree, but inside, something had hardened. Her spirit had shifted. She knew now, whatever promises they dangled, whatever glittering lifestyle they flaunted,
It was all a trap. As they walked back to the lounge, Chief rose from his seat, his wide smile waiting for her. Tola and Chioma flanked her like guards, pushing her closer to him. But Stella's tears weren't for Chief. They weren't for the rent or the unpaid fees. They were for the death of an illusion, the realization that her friend's success was built on lies, and that she had almost surrendered her soul chasing shadows. She sat down beside Chief, forcing a smile, while her heart silently screamed, "This ends tonight." The lounge felt colder than before. Stella sat stiffly beside Chief, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The golden lights that once dazzled her now seemed harsh and mocking. Chief was still talking, boasting about the millions he had earned from a government contract, while Tola and Chioma laughed sweetly, nodding like loyal courtiers. But Stella wasn't listening. Her mind kept replaying the bathroom conversation. Every word felt like a knife twisting in her chest. They were never trying to help me. They wanted to use me. My pain was their opportunity. My desperation was their weapon. Chief's voice cut through her thoughts. "So, Stella, I've been thinking. I want to set you up properly. You'll never worry about rent again. I can even give you seed money for your business. But you must promise to be mine, exclusively mine." His hand brushed against hers. The weight of his touch made her flinch. Chioma leaned closer, her eyes glittering. "Babe, say yes. This is the moment. Do it for Baudet." Tola added quickly, her smile tight. "Don't waste this chance. Life no day wait for anybody." Stella's throat tightened. She felt the walls closing in, the music pounding in her ears like a warning drum. Her friends' voices blurred together with Chief's offer, merging into a suffocating chant. "Say yes, say yes, say yes." Her breath quickened. She glanced around the lounge, at the rich couples sipping wine, the waiters moving gracefully, the chandeliers sparkling. To them, this was normal. To her, it felt like a cage. Suddenly, tears filled her eyes. She pushed back her chair so abruptly that the table rattled. Chief's smile froze. Tola and Chioma exchanged sharp glances. "Excuse me," she whispered, her voice breaking. She stood and rushed out before anyone could stop her. The cool night air hit her face as she stumbled onto the hotel's terrace. The city spread out before her, neon signs flickering, cars honking, Lagos refusing to sleep. She leaned against the railing, her body shaking with sobs. Her makeup streaked down her face, her chest heaving with the weight of betrayal. She cried not just for herself, but for the years she had spent envying the very women who wanted to trap her. She cried for the innocence she had almost sacrificed. And most of all, she cried for Baudet, for the lessons she had almost taught him, that shortcuts were the only way to survive. Footsteps approached. Tola's voice came first, sharp with frustration. "Stella, what are you doing? Chief is inside waiting. You can't just embarrass us like this." Chioma added, her tone dripping with false concern. "Babe, calm down. You're overthinking. This is the Lagos way. Don't let emotions ruin your chance." Stella turned to face them, her eyes blazing through her tears. For the first time that evening, her voice was steady. "This is what you call friendship? To push me into something you both don't even believe in? You don't care about me. You only care about what you can gain." Tola's smile faltered. "Stella, don't talk like that." "No," Stella snapped, her voice echoing across the terrace. "You lied to me about your lives, your success, everything. You made me believe you had found a better way, but all you found were lies. And now you want me to join your lies, so you can use me as your cover. Not again, never." Chioma's eyes hardened. "Then keep suffering in Yaba. Don't come crying to us when the rent man throws you out." Stella wiped her face with her sleeve, her hands trembling but strong. "I'd rather suffer honestly than live off deceit. My son will grow up knowing his mother fought with dignity, not shame." Without another word, she walked away, her heels clicking against the marble floor like a war drum. She didn't stop when Chief called after her. She didn't look back at her so-called friends. She walked out of the glittering hotel into the humid Lagos night, her heart shattered but her spirit unbroken. The city roared around her, Danfos honking, hawkers shouting, Okadas weaving recklessly, but for the first time in days, she felt strangely free. Her tears were still flowing, but now they weren't just tears of pain. They were also tears of clarity. Stella whispered to herself, "I choose the hard way, the honest way, no matter how long it takes." And in that moment, she knew this breakdown wasn't the end. It was the beginning of her fight back.
Morning sunlight filtered weakly into Stella's flat in Yaba, slipping through the curtains and casting faint golden lines across the room. The air smelled faintly of kerosene and ground pepper, remnants of last night's cooking. Outside, the shouts of traders and the cries of hawkers had already begun. Lagos never slept for long. Stella sat at the edge of her bed, Bodhi still curled up beside her, his small chest rising and falling peacefully. She brushed a hand across his forehead, her eyes tender but heavy with determination. She had walked away from Chief and from her friend's deception, but the reality remained. Her landlord's threats, her son's fees, the crushing weight of survival. Only this time she faced it with a new resolve. By noon she was in Tejuosho Market. The noise was deafening, bus conductors yelling destinations, women bargaining loudly, the sharp clanging of metal spoons on pots. Stella moved from stall to stall, notebook in hand, buying ingredients, yam flour, pepper, goat meat, palm oil. She had borrowed a small loan from Mama Abiola, an elderly woman who ran a food stall nearby and had always admired Stella's cooking. "Don't disappoint me, oh," she had pressed the money into her palm. "In this Lagos, people go chop before anything else. Feed them well, and you'll never lack." That day, Stella stood behind her newly polished catering pots, steam rising as she stirred thick amala, ladled ewedu soup, and set out plastic containers of stew. She had changed her business model. No more chasing high-class catering gigs that bounced with thick checks. Instead, she would target the offices in Ikoyi, bankers, lawyers, clerks, all hungry for affordable home-style meals. The first day was rough. She carried coolers onto a keke napep, her heart pounding with fear of rejection. But by lunchtime, a small miracle happened. Workers rushed her stall, drawn by the smell of spicy stew and the way she greeted each person warmly. Some even ordered seconds. By evening, her coolers were empty. Her legs ached, but her heart soared. She counted the money in her small purse, modest but honest, and it was hers. Weeks passed. Each day was a battle. Early mornings, late nights, sweat dripping down her face as she stirred pots over a coal fire. She delivered meals to dusty offices, dodged danfos, bargained for cheaper meat, and endured the endless Lagos hustle. But slowly, her name began to spread. "Have you tried Stella's food?" a banker told his colleague. "Best amala in Ikoyi, I swear." "Her stew tastes like my mother's," another said. And so, customers grew. Bodhi noticed too. One evening, as they sat on the floor eating leftover rice, he looked at her with wide, admiring eyes. "Mummy, you're strong. Even when it's hard, you don't give up." Tears pricked Stella's eyes. She pulled him close, kissing his forehead. "Yes, my son, because shortcuts may shine, but they burn. Real success, we build it brick by brick."
Meanwhile, Tola and Chioma faded from her life. Rumors floated through the grapevine. Tola had been caught in an office scandal over missing funds, while Chioma's boutique had been raided for fraudulent activities. Their glittering facades crumbled, just as Stella had feared. One Friday evening, as she counted the week's earnings, Stella paused. Her purse was still light, her problems not completely gone, but for the first time in years, she felt peace. A peace that came from knowing she hadn't sold her dignity. She stood by her window, looking at the chaos of Yaba below, the traders shouting, the buses screeching, the neon lights flickering. Lagos was still tough, still unforgiving, but she was tougher. She whispered softly, almost like a prayer. "Bode, I didn't choose the easy way, but I chose the right way." And in that moment, Stella understood something she would carry for the rest of her life. The Lagos hustle was hard, but survival with integrity was the greatest victory of all.
Moral lesson. In the Lagos hustle, or anywhere in life, shortcuts may shine, but they always burn. Real success is built on integrity, one honest step at a time.